Welcome in, everybody. We're getting ready for some collegiate games here at CSL. I hope you guys are excited as I am. We have UCI taking on Colorado University in what should be a very hype match. Both teams sitting at 3-0 in the tournament. But before all that, I'm Mad Magical, joined in by my colorcaster, Returned. It's great to have you in, and I hope you're just as excited as I am for these games.
I mean, I don't know if I can be excited as you, but it's still going to be a great night of League of Legends. I know you got a little bit more attachment to this game than most, being an alum of UCI. So
Hashtag unbiased. I mean,
unbiased casting, of course. So I guess I now am taking the part of the Colorado squad. So go team.
Someone's got to. I mean, UCI got to get the Zots in there, as I graduated from there back in 2014. So gotta love my school, gotta represent. Even though they got that beautiful sports arena after I graduated, so a little bit jealous, but that's besides the point. But what we need to talk about here is these two squads coming in. Like I said, both of them undefeated, but UCI has yet to drop a single game all tournament long.
Exactly, and you hit that point right on the head, basically. CU Boulder, they've been coming in, like, we've had a lot of talk with them. I personally worked with them a lot in the past, and we just saw them over at the Wichita event. They are 3-0, but some of those matches aren't that convincing. Their mid laner and their ADC especially look to be really the strength of that team. UC Boulder love to play around that bottom side of the map, get the game rolling early. But sometimes it can really fall apart when enemy top laners especially go towards the hyper carries or the gangplanks like we've been seeing come out. And I mean, UCI, just look at their match record. I mean, not only do they have just the pure roster of talent, both old and new, but they just look so incredibly clean. You gotta really dig deep if you want to knock these guys out.
Especially when we look at the top side of the map. We got 29A over for Colorado. He's going against an ex-pro LCS player in Youngbin who's playing for the jungle for UCI. So that's going to be a lot of pressure on this player, making it so that he has to go against someone of such a caliber. Maybe he's going to crack under the pressure. This is something we really got to see.
Yeah, most certainly. And now, I mean, they were once again, CU Boulder, we're talking about how they want to basically be the best in the region. They are not actually sponsored by their school. They're an independent group. Not really getting the big bucks like the UCI guys, but they're still making it work. And the big thing was they want to be one of these top schools. But this is going to be that rougher matchup, and if you want to show that you can compete at a national, if not top of the conference level, you need to be able to come up to these matches in stride. And UCI, they haven't missed a step yet.
Yeah, this is very true. And I mean, if we look over to the interview that Fekis did with Loctron over, I think, on Friday, with the substitute jungler for UCI, he actually talked a lot about how UCI really adapt to things, how they want to play, and they're able to bring in a lot of this talent, sure, but they do put the hard work in when necessary, trying to make sure they always are competitive, that they can stay one of the top teams in the Western Conference.
And that is a very storied conference. I mean, we have Simon Fraser, we have University of British Columbia, and we even just saw, I believe they got knocked off in last match, but it was UC Berkeley, who also look really strong. And there are a lot of these teams really vying right now for that top spot. So we'll be curious to see how that actually pans out. And like Magic had said before, this is week number 4 of our Swiss tournament. So basically a quick rundown for if you guys are new to the stream, anything like that, or maybe just want a refresher. We are in the middle of our 6-week season, so each of our 4 main conferences in the North, South, East, and West. We'll be playing through a 6-week season. With every week, you get paired up against another team of that level. So 4-0s played 4-0s. I believe we're actually coming to week 3. So both these guys are 3-0, looking to be 4-0 apiece. But you have to end the regular season, so the 6 weeks, with a 5-1 record or a 6-0. So we're not quite at the point where either of these teams could be knocked out, but it definitely becomes a much harder path forward with the 3-1 record. You now need to basically win, you actually have to win out the rest of the season.
Yeah, exactly. And you need to, if you're going to lose one match, I mean, this might be the one that you have to take the L, unfortunately, because both teams are very strong. So you're going to go for a lot of competition in this one. Make sure that you're always striving to be the best, striving to be a little bit better. But dropping a game here, I don't think is going to be the worst thing in the world, because you can say, hey, this is a really strong team and we're going to learn a lot from it. But that's the big thing, is whether they learn from these defeats, even the little ones across the way.
Most certainly, and they're going to definitely be looking to shore up any kind of weaknesses here. Obviously, Both squads do need to not only be looking at this match, but looking at those next 2 weeks, and especially for the team that does lose, they're not going to have that much time to actually go back, check themselves, because they're going to be in the next match next week. And week 5, and especially week number 6, are going to be very scary, because if you lose here, you will, for sure, if you win week number 5, be in week 6 where the entirety of your tournament life is on the line, and you will be against another 5-1 school. And obviously, winning is the main priority here, but
of course,
mark of a great school is one that can take those losses in the stride.
Yeah, but this is where we gotta really look over to Colorado. This is a team with a lot of confidence. I mean, talking with the players, they feel that despite not having a lot of the sponsorship some of these other bigger schools in the Western Conference have, that they can still take it to them, that they can take these victories. They've gotten a lot 2-1 victories over their way to this point now. So if they're able to do that again over UCI, would be a really big step and show them that their success at Wichita wasn't just a one-off chance.
Oh yeah, they made a pretty deep run in that tournament, and I know for a fact watching that it went on for a long time. So definitely a testament to the stamina of those players. But yeah, they did finish in that 5th place position, the second highest collegiate team. The other 3 being I know Wildcard and Zenith were in there, but basically the semi-pro teams.
Yes.
So throwing in a lot of those big names, but not quite linking them to a school. The only other college that finished higher than them, and this was also a tournament rather that included names like Robert Morris and Maryville, was Columbia College, our kind of superstars in the North right now. Drake Porter and the boys running it home. But to the benefit for CU Boulder, they didn't actually get to play them because of how the seeding worked out, so still can kind of throw up there. Yeah, we can take it to the best of the best. So gonna have to see if any of that extra practice they got, if any of that LAN experience as well, is gonna transfer into today's matches.
It's always something that you always wonder how these external events do impact a team, whether even UCI has been watching them so they can make sure to keep an eye on how the competition's going to be. You can have a lot of the access to the Battlefy, sure, to see what they're playing against the competition for collegiate teams, but scrims can make a huge difference. The meta changing constantly with all these different patches. We're getting a lot of big patches, the 8.2 especially, bringing Nunu back into meta force that Colorado has been using a lot to their successes. A lot of their wins have been off the back of using that.
Yeah, most certainly. And Nunu is not the only real pick that's been coming up with that most recent patch. Jinx, also in the ADC position, has been getting a huge resurgence ever since the slight Cogmon nerfs that honestly took me by surprise. I thought they were going to drop him by like 1 or 2% in the win rate and then drops to the lowest ADC win rate in the game. So maybe not going to see him, but that's also another thing with this tournament, and even though it's only 6 weeks long, that does mean there's going to be anywhere between 2 to 3 patches, and you have to adapt to that. You have to be able to play up to that next level, and a lot of that is getting those scrim games in. And CU Boulder, before they start hitting me on chat here, sorry very much, but CU Boulder, they have been able to scrim against, not scrim, but actually go up face-to-face with those higher teams that aren't locked away at the LCS level right now, and we don't really know how UCI has been doing. And also, to Colorado's advantage, they have been making a run of the California schools. Week 2, they won over UCLA. Week 3, they won over UC Davis. So maybe they're just going to take UC by storm.
It depends. Let's see if we get the Anteaters coming in with the Zots really being able to fight back to them. But something that I think can really help out Colorado here is the fact that, like you had mentioned, they have a lot of this practice against really high caliber teams, but also they can use a lot of these changing metas to the advantage. We have Swain, the rework just came in at 8.3 that is available for players to play, and maybe they have a strategy they've developed behind the scenes. Maybe UCI has as well.
Exactly, and that's kind of a nice thing about the best of 3 format. It's not as small as a best of 1 where you can whip out the quote-unquote cheese strategies and just win off of that, but it's also not long enough where you have too many games to actually prepare something for. So that could be a way in for Colorado. If they come up with 1 or 2 of these comps where they integrate this Swain, they really bring out the Nunu more so than a lot of other teams have been able to do, they can take that 1 or 2 game advantage over UC Irvine, and that over UCI. And from there, you just look to actually just take the series from them completely. And it's the creativity along with the flexibility that can give you an edge in some of these really close matchups.
Before we get into game 1, I want to give a quick shout out to a lot of our sponsors. It's always a huge amount of gratitude over to Twitch, the largest streaming platform, the biggest supporter of college League of Legends, just collegiate esports in general. So we always have to give up some love to them. Thank you guys for being able to bring us this entertainment to everybody. So if you want, make sure to follow them on Twitter. I'm pretty sure most people here are, as well as Facebook, but it's always a lot of love out to Twitch, as well as if you can't catch these games live, you can always watch the VODs over on our YouTube channel. It's YouTube user C Star League, so that way you can always watch the games later on if you have to go do something else at the moment. And if you want to be able to chat with all the teams, chat with the casters, chat with myself and return, make sure to head over to our Discord and type in !Discord into the chat so you can join up with that. Follow us on Twitter at C Star League or at CSL LOL so that you can always keep up to date with the League of Legends games that are going to be brought to you here at CSL. It looks like now we are getting into the pick and bans for Game 1 between UCI and Colorado University.
Yeah, first thing that's going to be banned away is that Nunu. Just like you said, Nunu hasn't really been something that's been finding the W's for most of the teams. I've seen probably in half the matches over since the 8.2 patch casting with CSL that some teams have tried to play around the Nunu with the hyperscaling comp and the quote-unquote Exodia composition, putting both like an Azir and a Kog'Maw, just give them super stats. And a team that can actually get that working is someone to be feared. So UCI, they don't want any of that.
No, and Colorado is that team that's figured out how to play it. They've gotten a lot of victories using the Nunu. They know how to prioritize that, so I respect that ban coming in from UCI. The Rise and Vladimir now coming out of Colorado, possibly trying to make it a little bit easier for Zhu Louis in that top lane, because we actually have seen a lot of teams go with the Rise and Vladimir into the top lane to try to counteract a lot of the melee type champions he loves to play.
The top lane pool right now is so fluid on what you can actually get away with. And this is also something we've seen evolve over the last few weeks here. Vladimir now is the #1 ban in our Western region. So that being banned out on the red side, not the greatest shock in the world, but it's also showing you the changing pools not only in that top lane, but also towards the mid. And the Rise plus Vladimir, honestly, I'm a bit shocked about the Rise because it did receive that nerf where you no longer can Zonius plus Realm Warp away. The Zonius has canceled the Realm Warp as if you would have been CC'd. So maybe they just don't want to deal with any sort of that. And Discradin. Yeah, he's been living up to some of the hype lately. I believe he's one of the new bloods coming in, as UCI is basically this mix of the new bloods plus the old bros, and he's definitely been putting some people down so far.
Surprised we didn't see the Zoe locked in for Descratin in that mid lane. He played it very effectively in week 1 for the collegiate scene, but instead they wanted to get Young Ben onto something a little bit comfortable with the Jarvan, especially with how powerful he is when Sejuani's no longer on the table. But to counter that, 29A picks up that Zac into the jungle.
And these are two of the very high-pressured early-game junglers. J4, with the Flag and Drag combo up at level number 2, you can just go clear a camp, walk straight into the mid lane. You have enough damage with Electrocute, where you can just either force a flash, or if maybe not, if you predict the flash, that's what I'm looking for. If you predict the flash, you can just walk away with a kill at that level 2 mark, and it is just so impactful. But you also have to take into account the 4 armor nerf he did receive on the 8.3 patch, so maybe not the most gutting change in the world, but it definitely hurts a lot of his jungle clear and lets some of these other gank-style junglers like the Zac come back up that priority list.
I love that synergy that's been drafted by Colorado University, going for the Galio for Siligo, along with that Zac for 29A. Whenever Zac jumps in with those elastic slingshots, always just have the heroic entrance on top of him to give him all the resistances. So this good wombo combo that they're trying to develop for the team. So we see Janna going over for Bloodwater, something that he has been going for on and off. Kind of surprised we didn't see the Karma, because that's something he's really been prioritizing in the last couple patches as Captain Nuke going onto the Gangplank.
And this is exactly what we were referring to earlier. CU Boulder is relatively weak when it comes to playing against some of these control, some of these more scaling style top laners like the Gangplank. They're going to be picking the Camille into it, try to get a little bit of that early aggression. But now, just look at that core dive composition. CU Boulder, if they ever find somebody caught out, or if they ever land onto, like, the Janna in the backline of a fight, they're not going to let her leave ever.
No problem. Not at all. But now, we're getting into the second part of the bans, where we see Ezreal already taken away, so Latman not going to be able to have his hands on that. Even though Young Ben, I believe in week 2, played a jungle Ezreal himself, so There was that. There could have been that flexibility. He does play it, so I always found that actually interesting. Even in season 8, that he was deciding to go for that as Caitlyn. It's going to be another marksman, so maybe a lot of marksman prioritization in the next part of the bans.
It's very unusual to not see one of these ADCs going over in the first few rotations. Certainly, we've seen Kog'Maw fall out of the priority because of those nerfs, because of the reduced damage he does. Malzahar ban going to go over as well. And that does kind of leave this top ADC probably being either the Kalista, maybe not a little bit less Kalista, but the Varus. And these are two very priority picks, and especially with CU Boulder, who have already picked up a great amount of playmaking potential, has basically the entire map as their oysters, where they want to go for some of these level 6 plays, can focus now on getting a very strong bottom lane, or rather a very well scaling bottom lane, where they can just throw a Galio at it, throw a Zac at it, and hope something sticks.
Love that Lulu last ban coming in from UCI with a potential dive that's already been drafted by CU Boulder. You already talked about the Zac, Galio, and Camille. Imagine a Lulu on top of that with the wild growth just to buff it all up. That would be absolutely absurd. But Akonda is going to have his hands on something he really does love, and that's going to be Kalista.
Yeah, now they do have to respond with some sort of mid laner and ADC. ADC, I think, Lucian buffs did come across. It definitely helped out a lot with the crit Lucian builds, but I think the Xayah or Tristana are going to be the more likely options here. Is I feel like Lado might be a little bit too prone to getting caught off in some of these fights with the Lucian, but no, they're going to go big early.
Still could possibly go into the mid lane. Descritin could have his hands on that, as known as a very amazing counter towards that Galio, trying to make sure that you could always go into his face, and that magical shield that he's able to get with his W, not going to be too useful into a Lucian.
Exactly. That's something that's going to be a little bit awkward to play around in lane, and it does have a lot of upside. A very coordinated team like UCI should be able to cancel out, and that does look like it will be an ADC Lucian, but the very coordinated team from UCI could very easily cancel out a lot of these map rotations from CU Boulder with just good vision control and good team play. And if this combination of the Zac, of the Galio, of the Camille are not able to start off in the early game, there's not very much actual damage in the late game for this squad.
Love that Thresh pick. Well, doesn't necessarily have the best synergy with the rest of the composition from CU Boulder. The fact that it counters the Janna so heavily, one good hook onto her can swing this lane so massively from being an early game focused Latman on this Lucian with the buff coming in from Janna right back into the hands of Akonda and Fisk.
Most certainly, like, we've seen Janna come up a lot, and obviously that is a very clear direct counter towards the dive comp, wanting to keep at least somebody alive. And it's very hard to actually get the Zac Elastic Slingshot onto someone who has a Janna standing next to them. Tornado is pretty effective on that. Yeah, throwing the Thresh and the Kalista, that is like the kill lane from Season 7, I want to say. Maybe a little bit before, not Season 7 World, a little bit earlier in season. But yeah, if you get one hook, there is very little chance of you actually surviving there without blowing a few sums or blowing your jungler presence.
Especially on someone immobile like Janna.
Yeah. Exactly. You're really good at making sure things don't get to you, but once they get to you, you are just gone. Piece of paper. She's very squishy and mostly relies around her E to buff up her ADC during the laning phase, and her Q just to keep people off her. On top of that, we've been seeing a bit of a resurgence in the W Max Janna. It gets very good damage in lane, but I'm not super sure we're going to see that one come out here, as this is such an early skirmishing bot lane where you just need to be so safe nearly the entirety of the game.
So now something that does stand out a little bit for me is Descritin decided to go for that Orianna into the Galio. Normally you kind of see it the other way, though I will say the Orianna can poke out the Galio. What are really the merits of trying to draft that into this composition?
The idea that they're trying to play with is that they want to take the game into their hands with these team fights. Because if you look at absolutely every single piece that UCI have put together here, especially the J4, the Orianna, and the Lucian, these are great early game spiking champions. Each of them spiking around that 2-item point where they can just look to take control of this game, where CU is going to be a lot more focused around that level 6 point and then trying to get Kalista as fast as possible. It's basically almost throwing a bet down, saying that we can counter out your early game, survive long enough to get our guys some pretty good items, and then once you have that gold backing them, and if Zac's not tanky enough, if Galio's not tanky enough at the moment, there is nothing that this Ori cannot cut through. Throwing on top of that Lucian and then a little bit of Gangplank on the side for that late game scaling.
Well, that's going to be a lot based off how young Bin's going to play on this Jarvan. You already mentioned how early his ganks can be really impactful, but if 29A does a good job in warding, keeping it so that his team always knows where the jungler is going to be, it could cut them out right from under their sails.
Yeah, exactly. The name of the game does have to be that vision control. They should have fairly solid lanes here. Top lane, actually, wait. Now that I think about it more, not 100% certain. I believe that the mid lane definitely should be going in favor for the Orianna. Bot lane, that's going to be a lot closer. I want to say Kalista Thresh should pull out the advantage in that just because of the kill pressure they provide on that bottom part of the map. But top lane, Camille should have the advantage early on to something like the Gangplank that just really wants to hit that late game point.
Yeah, and when you draft the Gangplank in with the Lucian, it's kind of a mixed match there. You have this early game kind of laning bully in the Lucian, while Gangplank kind of wants to get some items. He wants to scale up into the later stages of the game, which makes it feel a little bit awkward at points.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it's really thrown on top there as the extra piece on top to make sure that this team doesn't win that one giant mid-game team fight, that they're not completely out. And that is the almost beauty that comes across when you get one of these mid-game compositions, in that you do always have that kind of ability to come back. You have that ideal combination play where if you catch 4 people with an Orianna ulti, there's always the chance that you can land the perfect fight no matter how far you are down. And then throwing out the Gangplank helps convert that combination plays towards that later stages of the game. So hopefully they can stick around with that. Hopefully they never get to the point where the Gangplank really needs to be a big force, but it is there if they need it. Hopefully Captain Nukes can be able to make something happen up here.
Kind of like just having a safety net. Make sure that if you're falling apart, something can grab you at the end of the day, giving a little bit of respect to the fact that CU Boulder, with their composition that they've drafted, will be very strong at those team fights. The Galio, the Zac, Camille, they'll be able to do a lot of work when it comes to locking down backlines.
Yeah, without a doubt. And we'll have to see if they're actually able to convert on that, because it's one thing to just draft all this on paper, but it doesn't mean anything if you cannot make the plays happen. And I want to see where 29A and Sligo are going to be able to go with this, because they are the two driving forces here, unless Akanda or Fisk really start breaking out that early game. And you have to remember, on the other side, that is Youngbin over there. They have the manager is currently also listed for UCI as their substitute, just in case this guy gets picked up by the LCS again. So can never really count him out in anything here, especially with so much early priority like the J4.
Exactly, but I hope you guys are ready for Game 1 between UCI and CU Boulder, as both teams have loaded up onto the Rift. You even see CU, they're looking for something a little bit cheesy. All 5 members towards the top side of this map.
I don't think they're going to find anything just yet, as not too much early invade priority on the side for UCI. Really looking to see if Youngbin's going to get greedy here, or try to throw a ward, but there's no Morgana, there's no Braum, there's nothing to actually lock someone down immediately in this fight, so wouldn't put my money on that one for sure.
Ooh, you know, we have no unsealed spellbooks picked up for any keystones of any member in this game right now. That's something interesting, because we did see a bit of a nerf come to it in 8.3. I believe it went from 25% cooldown reduction down to 15%. So gonna make it a little bit less of that must-grab keystone.
It definitely hurts a little more not getting the extra 10% cooldown reduction, and many champions really just took that not only for the mobility between the summoner spells, but because on these big engaged mid laners like something like the Malzahar, which didn't quite make it through this game, you just get the bonus 25% plus Boots of Lucidity, and your flash is just basically always up at that point, about the 2-minute cooldown and maybe a little bit less. But honestly, when you look at all these champions, there isn't anyone that would very much benefit from that. I mean, Sligo, 29A, Zalui, they all want to be the backline, just flying into a team fight with their abilities, not quite flashing in. And on the other side, mid lane, you don't really need the TP available on Orianna. You want to make sure you have that cleanse the entire game through, because once again, you just don't want to get touched by anyone in this match.
By the way, is that a lethal tempo Kalista?
Yes, it is.
Very interesting.
Throw even more spears. So the big thing with the lethal tempo, and also part of the reason why Jinx been getting big is because she basically got that buff as her passive, but the lethal tempo does remove the cap on your overall attack speed and continues the stacking process. And the big part of Callisto's damage does come out with the Ren. So just getting more attacks and being able to jump around even more in the lane will help out immensely in some of these early to even late game fights where you really can just pop off and shred off this very not really tanky front line nearly by yourself.
That is what you kind of have to imagine is going to be the idea for CU Boulder. They don't really think that they're going to win early into this game. The Lucian for Latman kind of makes it feel as though they've seeded that a little bit. They're just like, we want to at least get some CS, get some gold and some items before we try to fight you. But Lethal Tempo definitely screams that to me.
Yeah, but looking over at all the keystones, one that draws my attention is Youngbin taking Press the Attack. So normally when we see J4s, at least in my experience, it's been with the Electrocute because you get so much additional damage just off that Flag and Drag combo. But Youngbin, he wants to stay in some of these fights maybe just a little bit longer. But I'm not super sure he's actually going to be able to get all procs of that out in a normal engage.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's interesting looking at a lot of these keystones. That one, I'd say the Lethal Tempo for Akanda, and even that Electrocute for Soligo, going for a lot of damage. You want to make sure that you're taking people out. You're going to have Youngbin sticking to the backline, maybe even going for more of the Bruiser build that we used to see on Jarvan quite some time ago. So I'd love to see what's going to happen as the game progresses, but unfortunately we got to pause, so we're going to have to wait a little bit on that.
It does seem like someone's having a little bit of connection issues, as this is the second one we've gotten so far. But yeah, taking that back a step and talking a little bit more about Youngbin with the Press the Attack instead of something like the Electrocute, is it definitely changes his damage style. It takes a lot off the front end, so just pressing your combo and hoping they die before they hit the ground to the sustained out team fights, and that could definitely help him, like you were saying, with a bit more of a bruisery build, as he's also basically the only source of tank, the only source of real beef that the UCI roster has to play around.
So they're going to have to really try to build that around, make sure that he's either carrying the team if he goes for that bruiser build, or maybe even pathing towards a lot more of a safer route with the tank Jarvan that we sometimes see. There could also be a little bit of overconfidence coming in from UCI. Team who has yet to lose a single match in this Collegiate League of Legends. It could be that they feel so confident that they're not going to drop even this one, that they're going to go very aggressive, as we see Latman going into Fist, getting down to below half health.
I mean, you always got to have that little bit of swagger when you play. You got to make sure you know that you are the best guy in that room. But you never really want to overestimate, and we've heard from both these teams, they're definitely very confident, but they're also respecting that they could lose one or even two of these games going over to the other side. And looking at that bot lane, it does look like Bloodwater will be going with that WMAX, at least at the start, because he's doing damage.
Desperate trying to duel it out with Soligo, but the level advantage came in for the Galio, so he got a lot more trade damage, but still a small CS lead for Desperate at this moment.
He's going to be having that going on through, and this is where the Galio pick starts to show some of its weakness, because it is such an amazing team fighting element, but the laning phase definitely falls off quite a bit. Ever since its release, when you're able to go full AP on Galio and just like press Q and the person you're looking at just dies immediately, definitely has a much rougher time in the laning phase. Sure, it does get a little bit of that extra magic resist in the lane versus Descridens. Oriana will be throwing out quite a bit of damage, but it's just not going to be able to keep up with that wave cleared. He hasn't gone for something like the Dominion Dematerializer, and what this means is that could make it even harder for 29A to go forward and establish that vision control, and it's going to be relying very much more on these side lanes for CU Boulder to help him get that lead. And honestly, right now, it does look like that is exactly what is happening.
Pretty solid back coming in from 29A. He had gone for the Hunter's Machete over going for the Talisman on Zac, which is a unusual pick, but also I think put him in a little bit at a deficit as we look at Youngbin, who still has yet to back, actually just backed now, sitting a little bit ahead of him, a little bit quicker speed on the clears for this Jark.
So far, and now this game also does rely a lot around what does 29A actually want to do with some of his objectives and some of his time, because you want to get to that level 5, level 6 point on Zac where your Elastic Slingshot just reaches the entire of the lane, but you're also very open to being set behind because of that 8.0 patch, of the reduction in the catch-up XP. That really makes it rough to go gank after gank, and if you play again, ooh!
29A getting the flash out of Desperate. good use of that, but going to be a lot more susceptible to see a repeat coming in from 29A if Descritin plays a little bit too far up and even permits for 29A and Saligo to get some deep vision into the jungle of Youngbin.
That was a bit of a misplay there from Descritin, because that is the exact lane they want an advantage.
Oh, but let's see if they're trying to see if they can turn it around on Saligo. He gets the double man taunt, but the cleanse coming in. The shockwave is now available, brings him back in as the slam comes in for first blood on Youngbin.
Yeah, they might have gotten the flash, but the kill will go over Youngbin. He knows exactly what is up and is going to put 29A back in his place. And this is going to hurt quite a bit because, like we were saying before, this mid lane pushing game definitely dictates a lot about where 29A can actually go and whether Saligo can actually roam over to a side lane to assist with one of these ganks, with one of his ultimates, because that ult isn't quite global. You need to step out of the mid lane to actually be in range, and if you're constantly being pushed into your tower, Descritin might just be able to keep Saligo from actually impacting one of these fights.
This also goes back to what we were talking about before, where we felt the power came in from Boulder. It's a lot of it in the mid lane and the bottom lane, and if they're going to lose mid and maybe bot with this gank coming in, that is the cannon barrage to get a lot of extra damage as Captain Nuke gets it with the Boulder. Going in for a little bit more, but it's the Ren to turn it around for Akonda as the TP came in for Zului to turn it around and get 2 kills in the bot lane for CU Boulder.
Things look to be going so well for UCI on this bottom part of the map. They have Lucian just wait for that 1 item, maybe 2 item, and just completely roll over on the side of Colorado. But that was a great response coming out of the entirety of the squad. Akana now going up 1-0-1 and should just be having a bit of a better grasp there on that lane. Youngman, though, he might have something to say.
Yeah, he's going to try to see if he can turn it around. A little bit too late on going back, Akonda. Even with the stopwatch, it's not going to help too much. Your Ren stacks don't help you dodge away enough, as that's a second kill for Jarvan.
Alright, I feel really bad now because every single gank I've seen Youngman do, he has actually gotten the press the attack stacks off. So believe that does give just a slight bit more damage than the electrocute. So getting his money worth out so far, but also maybe showing us a bit of a change in the meta as far as that goes. Maybe wouldn't call it just yet, but it's looking pretty solid for now.
We see Saligo going pretty aggressive into Descritin, getting a lot of damage onto him, but Bloodwater and Youngbin have both shown up. Cataclysm to lock in Galio, but the flash will get him back to his tower. Taking that away from Galio could be pretty nice for Youngbin.
And this whole string of plays coming out for UCI, they're establishing the vision game. Look at that bottom side river. There is no coverage on the entirety of that side for Colorado, and they need to start pressing this out because if they do not, if they stay in the dark for the remainder of this game, that's going to make that mid-game team fighting phase extremely hard because they're not going to be able to find the advantage. They're not going to be able to find the engage. Currently, all they're really relying on at this point is going to be just the pure strength of their bottom lane and the pure strength of Zului.
But that's not something you want to go for. This is competitive League of Legends, even if it's at the collegiate scene. You need to make sure that you're maintaining control of this map and everything slowly starting to fall apart. They even know where 29A is currently. They saw him go over, I think, that zombie ward. So as long as Captain Nuke plays this one smart, he shouldn't be caught out.
You would think so, but they are moving Saligo up here, so they might even be ready to tower dive this one. And Youngmin, he doesn't look to be in too much of a position to respond. Hopefully they're just gonna
towards the top side of the map then.
We're seeing a bit of a fight of Bruins. Louis, he's going in.
Nice dodge coming in from Captain Nuke. He's trying to see if he can continue that, but the stretching strikes will pull him back. No let's bounce to connect onto Gangplank, so they have to disengage. Youngbin was passing up towards the top lane. Might look for a little bit more. Blast Cone on to 29A. There's still those bloblets that he can have available for him, so if he does get caught out, he would be kind of safe, so he'll just jump over the wall for now.
This is great execution coming out from UCI. Not only are they setting 29A so far behind because of their ability to deny these ganks, but also, exactly what we said before, Descritin, he kept Saligo shoved in so hard in the mid lane that he couldn't even roam over. If you got the Galio ulti, if you got the heroic entrance in one of those plays, that might have been a 3-kill tower dive going over in favor for Colorado. But this is execution at its highest level for UCI, and they want to deny absolutely anything that can come out of Colorado.
So, the question for me has been answered. Youngbin is going to go for the tank Jarvan with the press of the attack, as he's got that Cinder Hull completed. Kind of hoping that we'd see a little bit more of the Bruiser build, but unfortunately not today. Not today.
Someone needs to build a tank, and Youngmin, definitely the damage-oriented build would help a lot in those team fights where you just wanted to nuke someone out at the very front, but fight's going on the bot side.
A lot of damage onto Akanda. He's got to be kind of careful as Fisk gets pulled back, knocking up onto Janna, playing in there as well. The stopwatch to try to see if it can keep him alive. Blackman flashes forward, but it's Cataclysm to pick up the killing spree for Youngbin. As Fisk has to run away, but I don't think he's going to be able to get back to his tower in time. No more stopwatches available just yet. Let's keep autoing, and you will finally finish him off.
UCI, they are making this one look easy, and once again, Saligo is unable to ult because Descritin is basically standing on top of him the entire time. They are reading this one like a book, and without this early game playmaking to actually bring them forward into that mid game, into that late game spikes, where Akanda would be ahead, where Saligo and Twine NA would be able to just lock down the backline for a nearly indefinite amount of time, they're going to be a very hard disadvantage going on forward in Youngbin. 3-0-1, being able to just straight take over this match is a level up on Twine NA. It looks to be, let's check that gold, about 1.4k in the lead. He's just completely taken over.
And that's the thing about Jarvan in the early stages of the game. His passive gives him so much burst potential that even when he builds this tank route, he does so much. Later on, of course, he's going to be the flag and drag CC bot that he needs to become. But right now, he is devastating with the amount of damage he provides.
Exactly, and the fact that a lot of this gold is going over to Youngmin is extremely crucial for the side of UCI because that is their only tank source, and at least they're giving him the most amount of gold to actually get up to that tankiness level. Because if we had this early game in this alternate universe where Youngmin does fall behind in the ganking strats to 29A, all of a sudden you are once again a team without any sort of front line. So this is definitely going to benefit them going on forward and help out that team fighting phase where Youngmin can stay that extra 2-3 seconds in some of these fights with Descritin's ulti on top of him, with Latiman trying to kite around the edges, and they should just be straightly just streaking, just stronger in these fights.
But most importantly for me is where a lot of the gold for UCI is coming in. It's going on to Youngbin, as you mentioned, but also onto Captain Nuke. And we mentioned in Champ Select that the top side of the map for Colorado Boulder is a little bit weaker than the rest. Saligo and Anaconda known to be the hyper carries for the team. But whenever they fall behind on the top side of the map, it seems to be the detriment of UC Boulder.
That is most certainly true, and you have to be wondering how much of their homework UC have done, because it seems like quite a bit playing this one just like a fiddle. But I mean, for Colorado, you don't get this far without still being able to pull off those sorts of team fights, and I mean, still, maybe a little bit deficit down about that 3.4k gold lead going over for UCI. If they hit that nice 3-man just wombo on the backline, there's still plenty of potential in this match.
Look at that vision control now by UCI, making sure to maintain control of 29A so they know that the fact that they don't see him, he's got to be on the bot side of the map, which is even why we see Descritin positioning towards the top. Shockwave coming in, but they're going to taunt him up, cleansing immediately, but he's knocked around for quite some time. Cannon Barrage to do a little bit of damage with the Cataclysm, with the Let's Bounce to try to see if he can do a little bit more work, but it's not going to be in time for the heroic entrance to pick anything up as the Bloblets have already been popped. Youngbin wants to finish it off, but the TP by Zhu Louis will keep him alive.
But each and every one of these plays that Colorado University are making defensively is just another group of summoner spells and a group of ultimates that they cannot use on the offense. And I cannot stress enough at this point that unless there's a play coming out for Colorado University, UCI are going to be at an absolutely fantastic mid-game spike. And sure, there aren't any of those towers going over just yet, but wait for those next few items. I mean, Latiman is going for the Crit Lucian build, needs a little bit more gold on him, but already Triforce completed up top lane for Captain Nuke. Has the CS advantage up there over Zului. Everything is going right for them, and there needs to be some sort of response, and at the moment, that does not exist.
This isn't a lane where normally you imagine the Camille's gonna be the victor in the laning phase, but it's all been going so horribly, and we even see Zhu Louis being punished heavily by Youngbin, but the ultimatum, trying to see if it can fight with Youngbin. There's a little bit of damage. Teleport finally completed by Saligo. Try to scare away the attempted dive that was going in onto his Camille.
Check out this bottom lane. We already have a lot of people roaming on over. Fights everywhere.
Fights everywhere as Descritin has finally rotated up. They got the flag and drag. Shockwave does not pull him in because the flash comes in from Galio to keep him under the tower. With 3 members continuing this push for UCI, they might want to continue it, see if they can get the tower in trade as well.
And this could definitely turn into a little bit of a tower race situation, but UCI, they definitely seem to be on the front foot of this one. Question is, does CU Boulder, do they continue this bot lane?
Depends who they pick off. There's some very squishy members. Bloodwater not going to be too impactful on the Janna if he gets picked off. Hook goes a little bit wide, so the rest of CU Boulder is going to have to go away. So they do have the potential to go in for this fight. With Captain Nuke here, you can tell that Boulder, they want to just escape, using that face call to keep Fisk alive.
Using the Pokeball, throwing the support back in, and throw them out the other end. Definitely doing a good job of keeping them alive so far. CU Boulder, they are just tucking the tail between the legs. They aren't able to make anything happen yet again. And this is starting to come back to that idea of this mid lane is so differential when you look at just the raw pushing power and the raw lane advantage and lane priority that is between Saligo and Descritin. Because the entirety of the CU comp is still built around that rotation right now. And when you look back at what the teamfight now has to become, you almost wonder, is the win condition coming out for Colorado University? Just wait for the late game, hope that Zulu is able to split push on the side, because honestly, Camille is one of the best split pushers you can get towards the late game phases, with the Scissor Legs able to knock down towers so quickly. But will it be enough?
And that's where you see it all coming down to whether or not he can duel with Captain Nuke. He got a pretty good trade in that one, taking away some of the barrels so that there wasn't going to be the burst potential that Gangplank can provide. But still, gotta be careful. Don't want to give over a free kill over to Captain Nuke, give him even more ahead, or even give up this Rift Herald for free.
Okay, they are going to take that one in the pocket, and we were talking about all this mid-game coming up. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we might just be there. Top lane tower is already gone, which means I would not be shocked to see Young Mid heading towards this bot side, knocking over this tower. And UCI, they're all hitting their spikes. Latiman, probably the only real one, not quite there just yet. Captain Nuke also appreciating just a little bit more of gold, but you can start stepping on that gas pedal. It's currently a 6K gold lead in favor for UCI. They can make that 10K easy peasy lemon squeezy.
You know, see that in the disparity in items, especially in these top laners. Captain Nuke already having completed that Triforce like you had mentioned. Now starting the Coalfields Warhammer, while Zulu still only sitting on components. Needs to go back soon so that he can trade a lot better into Gangplank.
There's the Herald right there. A bit of an interesting spot. It's going to be going towards the mid lane, drawing people away from the mid as they make a play on bot.
Well, here comes the teleport in from Zulu. The flag and drag will get him away from the pull, and that's a burned summoner coming in for Camille, even though she did complete it, so it's not going to be on the reduced cooldown either.
That was a really intelligent play coming out from the UCI squad. They knew that CU, they were trying to make something happen around this bot side, around this dragon, so they dropped the Herald, dragging people apart and once again preventing an engage coming across, especially from Saligo. And it looks like they might have just bought themselves a free dragon and maybe just a little bit more.
Now there's no more teleports for the side of CU Boulder, both of them being burned. Saligo used it to get to the top side, Zulu used it to get to the bot side, so not going to be able to contest that in any meaningful way, but 2 Mountain Drakes now under the belt of UCI.
They're definitely looking for more than that, as they are basically flanking all around this bottom side. Only 3 members for the side of Colorado University, but Youngman, he's going to find Saligo.
Yeah, and Saligo going to be locked into the pit in the Cataclysm. 3-man taunt does come across with a shockwave to keep him away from his tower, and Descritin will pick up his first kill of the game.
I mean, just look at how dark their own jungle is. Colorado University, they need to find some sort of way to get this Vision game in. Also, God bless, we can now see the Vision scores from the Spectator. Just looking at that scoreboard. But yeah, look at these discrepancies. In the jungle, 48 to 35 advantage in favor for Youngbin. Basically like every stat except for the death column. Going in favor for Youngbin, as 29A hasn't died just yet, but just across the board, there's been more control, more actual warding coming up from UCI, and they're just doing a fabulous job of denying each and every play coming out of CU Boulder.
And see, this is where we get the nice change to the Spectator, where we can see the ward score just with the vision control that you're able to get, and it's already showing how UCI are making sure to always be a couple steps ahead. Even for Descritin, he's sitting at 14 vision score over Saligo, so it's definitely UCI putting this prioritization of controlling the map based off vision, then making the plays afterwards.
And most certainly, and It's almost the same idea for both sides of the map here, but the big discrepancy is, once again, both these teams do want to be the ones making the plays. You have the Oriolti on one side, the Galley with the other, and Konda, ooh!
Oh no, Akanda did not have his support nearby, and that was a attempted all-in coming in from Matt and Bloodwater. But unfortunately, not going to be able to pick it up just yet. But getting both the heal and flash out of a Callista is going to be a nice trade.
A little bit more of a fight as Captain Nuke, he wants to get aggressive up here.
He does, and he's going to even use the cannon barrage. Has a lot of damage, and this is the problem faced for Louis when he faces off against Gangplank. As a Camille, if you can't win that matchup, not looking so hot.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit more fight in the mid lane as well, as Sligo has to run for his life. They're going to be present on this bot lane tower. Now, there just may be way too many threats to handle.
Yeah, as they go all in again on Akanda, but he gets the lantern, though. Wow, I think that was the W coming in from Bloodwater to pick up the kill. Even
W Max the dream.
Oh, baby.
He's got 4 points to it. Maybe not the W Max, but definitely showing it quite a bit of love, and that's going to give him just a little bit more damage right on the top. And now, with the competition for UCI, with how big they are, is there any response to any of these carries?
Again on to Soligo. This time they're diving between 2 towers. It does not matter for UCI. That's how far ahead they are. 9,000 at 21 minutes. They are controlling this lead. They're controlling the map and the tempo. So UC Boulder, you gotta do something quick. You gotta hope for a miracle at this point.
Exactly, and that does get a little bit easier the closer and closer you get to the base. Obviously, less distance you have to travel, but without Soligo, with basically the core part of their engaged composition, it's going to be next to impossible to actually find the fight you need. And kind of the point we've been hitting on for the last few minutes here is now you have Captain Nuke really popping off. Has finished the Ghost Blade, has finished the Triforce. He is ready to absolutely explode people in these fights with those barrels. Descridin has already shown us that he can knock out even the tanky members like Sligo with one ultimate. Add on top that Latiman, who's already on that 2.5 item curve, almost coming close to that 3 item. And with only the Camille for Zului and Akando, neither of which really coming to fruition so far this match, I don't know if there are enough parts, enough pieces for CU to actually deal with all parts of these team fights. Because sure, you engage, you knock out, let's say, Descridin in one of these fights, you still have to deal with Latiman and you still have to deal with Captain Nuke.
Love looking at these items for UCI. Look how many control wards are in those inventories. All the members of UCI trying to make sure that they can continue this domination in this map. Make sure that they can win out. Beautiful stuff in my eyes.
The next objective that has to be going over, but so far we've seen a little bit of a delay, but Captain Nuke, he's getting engaged.
Yeah, Captain Nuke still has the stopwatch available. Using the cannon barrage, it's going to get a little bit of damage as he trades back onto Akanda. Did you really want to pick that fight? I don't think so. That guy's still onto Captain Nuke, trying to see if he can escape. He will hold on to his life as he goes down, but he trades the 1-for-1 while the top side of the map, Zulu is not able to do the same.
Captain Nuke is just unstoppable. Alright, he's stoppable because he died, but nearly unstoppable at this point.
Oh, Let's Bounce gonna try to pull them in with the heroic entrance to heal. Wrong way, Latman! You didn't want to do that! As you're gonna have pop the Bloblets, but you might pop your own life unless the Monsoon comes in and helps you out. Poor Zach. You couldn't get back. As he falls down, so will his tower, and UCI, they're looking to crack open the base of UC Boulder.
CU Boulder, they just needed some sort of play to come through. They made the desperation trying to knock out the split pusher, but they gave too many resources up to the bottom side. And UCI, they are more than happy to take the fight going the other way.
This is UCI showing why they have yet to lose a single game in the college League of Legends scene. They are so dominating in this one, only having lost 3 deaths in this game and 1 tower. It's honestly really looking good for them and their hopes for the future in CSL.
I mean, if I didn't know better, this would just look like an absolute stomping right now. There has been absolutely no real life for CU Boulder coming out of this one. And what's even scarier with that, it's not like CU Boulder is trying for the late game squad and the other team just beat them out early. This is the team that has built themselves around this core engage. They have all the priority at that level 6 mark to get plays made, but they just are never able to follow them through. It never came to fruition.
Seeing another attempt to 1v1 from Louis, but it's Captain Nuke we're talking about here. He's sitting on that stairs stage, the Yomuds and the Triforce. He's sitting a full item and a half over his opponent. God, that is brutal stuff right there.
Absolutely devastating for Zuluian. He's got to be feeling the pressure because it's going to be up to him to keep Captain Nuke under control. If he gets poked out of lane, that sets up a very easy Baron attempt, and most likely the match going over for UCI. And that's definitely where they have to be putting all of their sights. Got the Dragon on the bottom part of the map, but now looks like it may be a little bit of a cheeky play from Youngbin. He's going to look for some vision.
I wanted to see if there's going to be any sort of life coming in from CU Boulder, as they knew that the Cloud Drake had gone down. They could have gone for a potential engage thinking that they had the advantage, but it seems that they know that they're so far behind they can't do anything. And Fisk getting himself caught out is only going to be a death sentence for the team. Now, all across the map, everything is falling apart. Zoo Louis fighting with Captain Nuke, but you might as well call him the king at this point because he is dominating. And Akonda caught out with that shockwave. UCI, they have won everything, and this was all split apart the map. Doesn't even matter because the base is going down, taking over another inhibitor for UCI as they want to end the game.
Honestly, all that's left is the formalities at this point. Just knock over the Nexus. 2 inhibitors are already down, and Captain Nuke, he's going to be making short work of this third one. Baron buff is definitely going to be very, I don't want to say free, but most likely free for the UCI squad. Is yeah, 29A, he'd have to have an absolutely miracle steal, and I'm not even sure he gets to the pit before it's gone.
Honestly, this Baron is an easy pickup for UCI, but looking at this game, we have to start talking about, because you gotta imagine CU Boulder, they're kind of looking at it and thinking, what can we do in the next game? This game is over. They're down 17,000 gold to UCI at 26 minutes in. What do they gotta change going into the second game?
I think the first thing that they really... Oh, Akonda needs a little bit of time to reconnect, but the first thing you really have to look at is they didn't put priority on their lanes to actually win the lanes. The biggest part for me is that middle lane. Saligo has been one of the shining members for CU Boulder, not only throughout this tournament, but the duration of his time with the roster. He finds the plays and he makes things work in that middle lane, and picking the Galio into something like an Orianna is almost giving up the lane, saying, okay, you can have the laning phase, I'm just going to go assist my side lanes. And when top lane and Zalui is never able to get stuff done, when bot lane Akonda and Fist lost a fairly early fight and kind of threw away a good amount of their lead with those early ganks coming out from Youngman as well. Sometimes you just need to put on the carry pants, and I think that's the way they need to go. Saligo maybe needs just a little bit more priority in his pockets.
Also looking over to Youngbin, he's been playing very well. Everyone's talking about Captain Nuke, King Nuke, but honestly, Youngbin really set up the rest of the map to make it so that this gangplank can get to the stage, making it so that he's so powerful. I almost want to see 21A play a little bit more aggressively into Youngbin so he can't be as aggressive next time.
Something has to change here, and Youngman has been doing a phenomenal job throughout this game, and oh boy.
It seems that Akonda is having a little bit of difficult times with his connectivity. Hopefully we'll be able to get that fixed soon. But also could be a ploy. Could be them trying to bait out time, make it so they have a little bit longer, so they can think of how everything is going to go into game 2.
The classic, maybe they'll fall asleep before the pause resumes strat. It can sometimes work, but I wouldn't count on it too much. And yeah, at this point, unless you land the absolutely perfect God combo right here, right now, there is very little potential for CU Boulder to actually walk with in one of these fights. So, first thought has to be towards what we're going to change for next game. And I think big points hit on, like you said before, Youngbin has just been having way too much of an impact on this match. And 29A, sure, he tried to spend a lot of his time on that engage, on that ganking.
Oh look, he's gone! God, that damage coming in onto Zach. He's supposed to be a tank, but he is nothing as they pick up 2 kills quickly for UCI. The rest of the members of CU Boulder falling apart as they're able to get a double kill and much, much more. Saligo, the only surviving member, bounced around to give a triple to Latman. All members of UCI still alive. This is going to be an easy game 1 for the squad. Anteater, Zot all the way.
Yeah, they make that look so convincing. UCI, I don't think there was ever actually a point, I don't think there was ever a play where CU Boulder were actually in control. I think that UCI, even when CU Boulder made some of those plays, or attempted to make some of those plays, they were really the puppet masters in control, like, yes, go gank our gangplank, we will take your top lane, and Captain Nuke will just take a kill in response as well. So, there are so many things that need to be shored up for the rest of this Colorado squad if you actually want to just be not only winning this next match, but just be in control at some point.
Completely agree, and honestly, you can see how UCI is able to do that. A lot of their members having played in at the LCS. You got Latman, you have Bloodwater, you have Youngbin. All of them are ex-pros, so bringing their knowledge from that stage here to the collegiate scene. Honestly, it's great stuff coming out of that squad.
Yeah, and I want to see what they bring out game number 2. And I honestly feel like there's some sleeper strat that the folks over UC Irvine have cooked up, and I feel like they're never actually going to be pressured to use it until like the conference finals, maybe the national finals if they make it that far. I mean, surely the road has to be laid out for them so far, and they're going to be setting their sights pretty high. I want to see Colorado take a game off them, so maybe we see some of the crazier stuff come out. But also Colorado, how deep do their pockets go? What did they have prepared?
I really want to see it. I also do want to see a Gangplank ban. Captain Nuke was a little bit strong on that, and there's a reason you don't give some of these top laners that champion.
Yeah, if you're going to leave Gangplank up and you're going to pick something like the Camille into it and focus on actually getting that ahead, you need to get it ahead. I don't think I ever saw 29A actually giving any attention up to that top side.
Only once.
Mostly because he had to deal with the mid lane discrepancy. He was not really able to get any assistance in getting the vision game going with Saligo on the mid side of the map. And also his bot lane wasn't generating pressure past the 10-minute mark. There's just too much falling apart, bleeding out of too many places to really stitch them back together.
It was really unfortunate for Colorado University Boulder, but hopefully they're going to be able to bring it all right back into game 2. So we're going to throw it over to a quick little break as we get ready for that.
Yeah, yeah.